Welcome, welcome, welcome to the 5th annual Umbrella Women's History Month Symposium. I can feel the energy. I love this. I am so happy that we're all here together to celebrate women and men, but mostly women. So today's theme is all about reimagining the possibilities, and I just am so thrilled. We have our first Black first family in the State House. Talk about reimagining possibilities. And we have such a wonderful opening kickoff this morning, and I'm so thrilled that we will soon be hearing from our own First Lady, Dawn Moore, and Secretary Tisha Edwards. And we have so much to talk about that I'm going to introduce Bruce Jarrell, our president, to introduce them.
Could I have a little bit more of that music again? So you know how when the athletes get announced, they have their own song? So now you probably think that music was for the First Lady, but actually it was for Tisha. Tisha's said she wants to bring energy into this room. Now, is there energy in this room or not? I think there's an answer to that. Could I invite the two of you to have a seat up here, and I will briefly introduce two individuals who do not need an introduction. But I will add to you that you all know that February was Black History Month. March is Women's History Month. We get to celebrate both in this event. Our First Lady, we're so pleased to have you here, is an expert in many areas. What I'm particularly pleased about is that she serves on several of the boards here in the city, the theaters, and one of these days we got to introduce you to the Hippodrome. It's nice to have you here. She is a graduate of the University of Maryland, College Park. You've all heard of that, right? Government and politics, with also a certificate in women's issues and policy. So it's a great opportunity for us to have her here. Sitting next to her is Tisha Edwards. Special in many respects. Now, not in the least, she's from Mississippi. Where's Mississippi? She's from Mississippi and is a transplant here to Baltimore and the Maryland area. She serves on our board of the UMB Foundation. She's been a great friend to this university for many years. But she graduated with her Bachelor's of Science in Social Work at Georgia State. Oh, but wait. She has her master's degree, Master's of Social Work degree here from our own University of Maryland School of Social Work. And as if that were not enough, Tisha couldn't stop. She also has her JD degree from the Francis King Carey School of Law. So Tisha, it's so great to have you here too. You're a great friend of this university. Now the idea is the two of these individuals are going to have fun on this stage. The idea is to make an exciting discussion. The First Lady has a hard stop at 9:55, but we're going to leave 10 minutes. Oh, the boss. Okay. The boss. We're not going to have any questions? Okay, well, that I know. That I know. It'll be a spirited discussion, I am sure. But I think you've all gotten used to this format. It's a really nice way to get to know somebody. It's not a lecture, it's a conversation. So with that, Madam First Lady, Secretary of Appointments, it's all yours.
So we've already started right. We have a woman telling the president what to do. So we're already off to a good start this morning.
It doesn't mean I listen.
All right, so Good morning, everyone. I am so excited to be here back on the campus of University of Maryland, Baltimore. Before we get started, I want to make sure that we acknowledge both the other women who are also leading in Annapolis and in the state of Maryland. We have Governor Westmore's mom here, and we also have the First Lady's mom here with us today. And I think that really sets the context for who I know as First Lady Dawn Moore. This woman travels with women, right? She likes to be covered and connected to women. I've always known and loved and respected that. I am super excited that we get to kick off Women's History Month with someone that I have to first say is I call her my good girlfriend, Dawn. And I woke up this morning and said, we get to do girl talk today. So I'm really excited for you all to get to know the woman that I love and admire. And when I talked to her last night, I said, it's a safe place, right? And she can hang out and have a good time. And I want everybody to hear that large, hearty laugh that she has that I just love about Dawn. All right, you good, First Lady?
I am great. I'm so grateful to be here with all of you. Happy Women's History Month. Yes. And I just want to say that I'm excited to be here with my dear friend, Tisha. She is someone who I truly admire. When you know that you need to get something done and have it done the right way, you call Tisha Edwards. And when she says, I got you, you don't have to ask anymore. And so for Wes and I, she is one of our dearest and closest friends and one of the top advisors to my husband. And when I know she's in the room, I feel good about what's about to happen.
All right. So, First Lady, I've known you and the governor now, it's almost a decade. So we've been through a lot of things together, right? And one of the things that I'm reflecting on is the journey. The journey, my own journey coming from Mississippi and somehow ending up with you in Annapolis in this moment with the first Black governor. For me, it was, the universe. It wasn't a straight path for me. And oftentimes I'll say this is the third time where you have led me through the journey, right? You've been my guide multiple times, over and over and over. Tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you get here? Was it a straight path? Did you go off the beaten path? What was it like for you, First Lady?
Well, I say, we have a plan and then God has a plan that usually overrides your plan. And I came from New York. I was raised in New York. My mother is here. And I always knew I wanted to be a public servant in some way because I came from a family of civil servants. My mother was a teacher. And I always say that I tell people my grandfather helped to put up the World Trade and my father helped to clear it. And they were always very involved through their unions and fighting for rights and different opportunities. So I knew I wanted to be a public servant. And so, my journey from New York brought me to University of Maryland, College Park. And it's interesting how things can happen because, when I graduated, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I called a friend, and we had a mutual professor. Some of you may know Ken Ullman. He was working for the Secretary of State's office for John Willis, and he said, you know what, I'm leaving the office. Why don't you come in and see if you can apply for this position? And from there, I worked, in state government. And it's so interesting because I used to work in the house that I live in now. I never thought that that would be the case. I never thought that that would be the case. And so it was interesting to kind of navigate through this life of service. You know, I worked on a few campaigns, had some heartbreaks in campaigns. I worked for Kathleen Kennedy Townsend when she was running for governor. And, you know, so I was in and out of service, but I always served the community in anything that I did. And so when my husband said that he wanted to run for office, it was like, you know, the little puppy where you have them on a leash and you're trying to pull them and their butt is dragging? Because I was concerned about what that would mean for our family. But I also knew who I married. And I married a public servant. And I believe in relationships, you have to let people do what they desire to do. And so after some serious conversations that included Tisha, you know, we decided that together we would make this run for office. And here we are.
So she's being a little modest about the puppy thing a little bit, because what I think and what I try to remind Dawn of every single day, like let's get real about what you did. Okay, so you might have been a puppy when we first talked about it, but quickly you emerged as a leader. And every morning, I got a call from you that said, "What we doing today? We're not playing. Oh, we're going to win, and he needs to do this, this, and this, and I need you to do this. You got me? I got you." At 7:30, I'd look at my phone, I'd be like, "It's Dawn. I can't take this. Just a minute." Right? So, you know, what I will say about you and Wes is, and this is like the complete behind the curtain truth. Everything we did, you and Wes did together. You were in every meeting, you were in every strategy session, you were checking the calendar, you were double clicking to make sure that we were following up with people. You were telling us when we weren't doing enough of this, when we needed to do a little bit more of that. I mean, I saw you and Wes sitting side by side as equal partners. And what I told you we were going to go here today, right? So you needed to be prepared. What I learned in this last leg of this journey with you was courage. Because there were moments where we were afraid. There were moments we had put everything on the line. We were committed. We knew we were in a field of 9. We knew that Governor Moore was the best. He was polling at 0. So there was a very small group of us, Mama Moore. There was a very small group of us that were like in it deep. And you never wavered. Where did you get that foresight to push us through? And how did you help Wes? You were his helpmate. How did you help Wes to do something that had never been done before?
Well, I will say that it really started with a belief in my husband, right? He is so committed to his values, to his ideals, to service, to making those who have been historically disenfranchised, those who have been left behind, to make a difference in their lives and to create opportunities. And I know that comes from his own personal experience of being always discounted. And coming from a family that saw his potential and didn't give up on him. And so I come from a family and from a mother who believes in you got to fight for your rights. And you have to fight for what you believe in. So this was my wheelhouse. I had worked on a few campaigns. I was deputy campaign manager for Martin O'Malley. I ran the local portion of Kathleen's race. I was chief of staff to Anthony Brown. And so it was my wheelhouse, and I knew I had something to contribute. And I knew that what was required was hard work. And I would say to Wes every day, nothing beats hard work. And that we were going to show up in every single part of this state. If we were going to be in it, we were going to be in it 1,000%. And, you know, my mother came to live with us for a year and a half of us being on the campaign so that we could go and come as we pleased. We had a whole family of troops out there, whether it was my mother-in-law or his aunts. You know, it started with a very small group of believers who could be the best ambassadors for him and who would go throughout the state in places he couldn't go to really evangelize on his behalf. And then I always would say, no one is going to outwork my husband. No one. And so we went from Western Maryland to West Baltimore. And we showed up all the time. One of the best pieces of advice that I ever received on this campaign was actually from First Lady Michelle Obama. I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with her. And she said, continue to show up. She said, because it's hard to hate up close. And that's what we did. That's what we did.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to switch it a little bit because we could talk about you and the power of you and Governor Moore all day long. That's a segment within itself. But the other thing is that you're an amazing mom. And again, we've been on this journey for a very long time. I've often talked to you about my sons, Nick and Nevin, and raising boys and how special raising
I called
boys.
Tisha. She said, he's going to be okay. Don't worry.
Jamie's doing blah, blah. I said, girl, it's just the thing with them. Just let it take its course. At 30, he'll have it all together. Just let it take its course. All right, so we've talked about motherhood, and you're just an amazing mom, and you're a great champion of everybody's children. I mean, you just love kids, and you know, everything that you do, there's always this element of it about supporting young people and helping them to get to where they want to be. But you're especially just an amazing mom to Jamie and Mia. And so you have this little girl that she's a twin, like she's in a 13. Okay, yeah, because I know the sleepovers have increased, the parties have increased. Like she has a social calendar. She's an amazing dancer. She's super smart. And she is on your heels, right? All the time. She's looking, she's watching, she's observing, she's learning. She is on your heels. Tell us a little bit about Mia and your relationship with Mia, because what sticks out in my mind is standing in front of your house, in front of the car. Mia's getting in the car. She's going to a sleepover. So it's been about a year and a half ago. And you said, I'm going to miss her. I really like Mia. And I was like, we'll see how long this is, because good times are coming. But tell us a little bit about Mia and what you are intentionally doing to help her be the woman that you want her to be.
Our daughter is a really special little girl. She has a very, her godmother used to call her the poised toddler. because she is, she's soft spoken, but she's very strong willed, very strong willed. And she is one of the most focused 12 years old I've ever met. I had to ask my husband, because I didn't think she got it from me, have you ever seen a 12-year-old? Were you this focused at 12 years old? And he was like, definitely not. But, she loves her dance. She has found, for this period in life, certainly we hope that it would continue, but she's so committed to her dance and to the things that are all about dance. And she's an excellent student. And so what I try to do is just to support her in that journey. And sometimes it does cause us to clash a bit, right? Because, for example, we have spring break and she has dance and she's like, Mommy, can I stay home? Because I have this commitment and I want to do this and I want to do that. And I do have to step in sometimes as mother and say, well, we have to be able to spend time together as a family too. We don't get that time alone outside of Maryland to be able to just connect as West, Dawn, Mia, and Jamie, mommy, daddy, son, and daughter. And so, but I respect her drive, and I respect, what that means at that age to be able to do that. And so we have both been supported by our families as much as they could support us in the things that we wanted to do. And so Wes and I spend a lot of time making sure that we can create those opportunities for our children.
One of the things I can say that I've witnessed with you and Mia is I love this notion that this respect. You respect her. Like, you talk to her like you respect her. I mean, you're the mom and you know what's best, but you engage her in a way that gives her voice, that she's seen. And I think for me, it prepares her for what she should expect from other people in terms of how they treat her. My mommy treated me with respect, and I've seen it again. It's been a decade. My dad, very loving, very doting, but it's a very respectful relationship. And I've always kind of admired that connection. It's firm, it's directional, because you're the mom and you're the leader, but it's also seeing her. And I just love that relationship.
Thank you. I think that's how we have to think about our girls in general, right? There's a lot of time that we as women and as young girls don't have a seat at the table when things are being talked about that actually affect our lives, right? Whether it is the rights of our body, whether it is opportunities in the workplace, whether it is, many things that we should be having a seat at the table. And so we really try to not just model it in our home, but we also, in our work as governor and first lady, is to make sure that the people who are most affected by the decisions that are about to be made are actually at the table talking about those solutions. And so, excuse me, we have spent a lot of time with all of the principals, whether it's the lieutenant governor, whether it's myself, whether it is the governor, his cabinet secretaries, right? Is how do we engage those most affected by these conversations? For me, where we live in the governor's official residence, right? It is one of the oldest operating executive mansions in the country. It was built in 1870. This is a home that has been traditionally used as a place where you have receptions and certain people get to come and certain people get to be a part of it, right? But what we said, this is the people's house. This is a home to share. This is where we can not just have, a cocktail and cocktail conversation. This is a place where we can have discussions and find solutions and bring people in. So we've hosted pride events. I don't know that there's been a pride event in that home in probably over a decade, We have had, multiple events during during Black History Month, where people constantly said, and it doesn't matter what walk of life they were from, I've never been in this home. Some people didn't even know the home was where it was, and it's across the street from the State House. So what does that tell you? That it was only a privileged few that could be exposed to this place. And so that is just something that I would like to think that's just who we are, right? We parent that way. My husband governs that way. We interact that way.
Great, thank you. All right, I have two questions I have to that I have to get to because I think we've talked about your strength, your courage, your leadership. I want to talk about being vulnerable. And as women, I think we all know there are moments when we're in the room and we're questioning ourselves, our preparedness. And you've seen, I think I've cried with you at least 10 times. I think it happens at least annually. I mean, you've seen me just like bawl it out of a variety of reasons, personal, professional, but you've created a space where it's okay to be vulnerable. So how is it, first, Black woman leading side by side with a Black man? Very, I guess I can say this. Dawn is blackety black, 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 black. So people know what that means. Like she's not afraid of that word. She is proud to be a Black woman. And you are a champion of all people, but you will say what's going on with minority business, what's going on with women of color. So you lead, but you also are vulnerable, because I've also heard you say, was this okay? Do I need to go in this direction? Give me some guidance. How do you bring those pieces of yourself, which are so strong and clear-minded, and also that part of you that's growing and where you are vulnerable too?
Yeah, I'm sure we've all heard, the sort of that statement about the imposter syndrome, right? Somehow we probably all experience that in some ways. And this is a very interesting journey because I'm used to being on the other side, right? I'm used to being a staff person. That was what I did. I'm used to being an advisor, and I do still give advice, but I sometimes I sit at the table and I'm like, God, everybody's looking at me. They're like, I got to say something really great. And then you realize, and my husband says this, you are where you are supposed to be, and you are in the room because that's where you belong. This is not, some social experiment. This is not an act of benevolence, right? Or that someone wanted to sprinkle diversity into a room. This is because you really have something to offer. And you do have to find those spaces where you can be vulnerable, right? Where you can figure out, okay, at least I do, was I good enough? Did I do well? And you find those people who can help you, work through improving or what you may have. But I'm so proud of the things that I'm getting to work on, right? I'm very passionate about children's mental health. And this is one of my initiatives. I'm very passionate about, being a military spouse myself, about military spouses and their families. The fact that we have the lowest unemployment rate in the state of Maryland, and mostly women who are military spouses are experiencing 11% unemployment rate, 21% across the country. And so I was the first lady in almost 20 years to testify before the General Assembly around the importance of hiring our military spouses and how the state of Maryland needs to be a leader in that way. But, 20 years ago, I would have been writing that testimony. I would not have been giving that testimony. I think that it is, again, an interesting time where you may have plans for yourself. And you may say, well, I've been a behind the scenes person, and that's where I'm comfortable and that's where I should stay. But then there comes that moment where you have to come from behind the scenes and step out in front. And your voice is necessary, your voice is needed, and your work is needed. And that's where I've come to realize that my voice is needed. One of my favorite lines, which happens to be from the movie A Few Good Men. And when Colonel Jessup says to Tom Cruise's character, he says, you want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. And that's who we are as women. They need us.
I love that, Dawn. All right, I have to kind of close us out with one of our kind of personal connections and things that we would say to encourage each other.
I know what she's going to say.
And I didn't even tell you, but I have to say it because, again, I want to go back to this 10-year journey that I think is so important to understand that we just didn't wake up, and it was a lot of hard-fought work, yes, on the campaign trail, but we've been working, fighting, trying to do great work together for a very long time. But the campaign probably was the hardest thing I had ever done in my life. It was the place where I was most afraid professionally. And I would not ever have done that had I not done it with people that I loved and trusted. Like, that was not, I'll tell you how Dawn and Wes work. So the way they work, just in case they do it to you so you can be prepared, is the governor makes the formal request. Hey, Tisha, can you come over? I want to run for governor. What you think about that? Would you join me on this journey? I'm like, no. I will vote for you. I will donate to you. I will volunteer for you, but I kind of have a job and this sounds a little risky, And so Wes does the first introduction of the request. Then Wes and Dawn talk about you behind your back. And then Dawn sends Wes in again, because she wants him to do the ask. And so you'll get the second call. Hey, I'm following up on that conversation we had last week. And they know how to get you. They my thing is, she knows if Wes says, T, you can do this. This will be fun. Dawn and I got you. And you on the other end, no. I don't think so. Let me think about it more. Then you get a third call. And the third call is from Dawn. And Dawn says, I need you to come to my house. So you get up at all times of the night or whenever, if it's early morning, whatever she says, we need to talk. I need, because then she understands you don't understand. So you get to Dawn. Is this true, Dawn? Okay, because you can tell me if I'm not being truthful. And I've gone through this 3 times with her. This is not once, but 3 times. And then the third time,
He plays hard to get if y'all didn't notice. That's what you really should
the
notice.
third time when Dawn calls you, she kind of scoots up in the chair because it's going to be serious. And she's going to help you understand why you're going to do this. You are going, you know, we have a great opportunity for Wes to be the CEO of Robinhood. This is going to be wonderful. And the board and I want you to be his successor. And the next thing you know, you're like, oh, okay. And she says, we got you. You don't, whatever your concern is, tell me what you need from us. We got you because you're going to do this, right? And you go, okay. And then when it's time for him to run for governor, you know, it's like, we need you to come to the campaign. We need you to leave your good government job, and we need you to come work with us. And you go to her house, and, you know, she has a beautiful house. She had a beautiful house in Baltimore, and she does that thing where she gets right where she needs to be on the seat, and she's looking at you, and she's smiling, and she explains to you, again, why you're going to do this, that you don't need to be afraid, right? And, you know, we there are 2 things that we say, and I'm going to ask her to comment on one. One of the things that we say between us is, you don't bet against Westmore. Because we're coming to this from the right place. We've prayed over it. We see it. He's going to work it. It's going to be fine. Don't bet against him. Join us in the journey. All right. So I've done that 3 times. But the thing she and I would say, because the journey that doesn't make it easy, right? Even when you can see it, it doesn't mean that it's not hard. And so in our hardest days, I would call you or you would call me. And what would we say, Dawn?
No weapon.
No weapon.
No weapon. That's right. You know, I think the spiritual aspect of that grounds me is that I do believe in something bigger than myself, something greater than us, and that I do answer to a higher power. And ultimately, that is the guide. That is my personal belief. And that was, you know, for those of you who may not know, it is no weapon formed against you shall prosper. And so that was something that girded us with strength every day. You know, when things got very hard, we would say that to each other because it was what we knew was going to get us over on the other side. And, you know, that encouragement was something that I just will never forget, because the truth is, without that higher power, without, you know, understanding who was really in charge, you know, we might have bet against ourselves. But we knew that this was the call to service. This was the call to serve Marylanders in this way. And so that gave us strength every single day.
So I think that's really important, and just wanted to end on that, because that to me is about reimagining the possibilities. To some, it was impossible. To you, it was completely possible. And you reimagined what was possible every single day for us, our team, your husband, your family. And you continue to do that as our First Lady for the entire state of Maryland.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. This was fun.
Thank you both so much. It would not be an umbrella event if we didn't get umbrellas.